Affinity players have had it easy in Pauper for a very long time, and especially with Dimir Control being up there, we show the fact that we have a lot of options. Specifically in this game, you're going to see a card like Kark-Clan Shaman really shine in its ability to get rid of 5/5s. Enjoy. As the game starts things off, I decide to keep a hand that finally has some lands in it, but it's really slow. I see that I'm probably up against Dimir Control, and with a bunch of Ichor Wellsprings out here, it's not looking good. Now, in this game one, I learned the lesson as well that Kark-Clan Shaman is probably one of the better cards in the matchup, especially with a card like Blood Fountain to recur it, so I need to do a better job of holding it closer to my chest. So I unfortunately lose my first one pretty early, and I don't happen to find lands, so I'm prioritizing the wrong thing here. I should have just played the Ichor Wellspring last turn, and honestly just let it get countered. Taking their resources is the priority here, but having that Nihil Spellbomb as they just play draw go is also probably pretty good. Now that gets hit by Spell Pierce, and that's perfectly fine. I let out a Blood Fountain, which also gets countered, but honestly, if I can take away their resources, that's probably what I want to do. So I'm not drawing any lands, they're not either, but I managed to find the fourth land here for the Vault Whisper, find the Frogmite into the Myr Enforcer, but of course they have the counterspell for the 4/4. At this point, I'm going to play the Nihil Spellbomb, crack it, pop it, just make sure next turn they're not playing a wide plethora of 5/5s, just holding them back for one more turn. I then pass, they find their fourth land, and well, they're going to play out a giant draw spell. They're slowly recuperating. Now I'm going to hit them in the face for a little bit. I'm going to hold up a Galvanic Blast and a Reckoner's Barding, but I decide to use the bargain just to draw some cards, and unfortunately it doesn't really work out for me in terms of aggression. I do have to cast more Thoughtcast to find more threats, but hey, at the end of the day, that's fine. They're playing out a lot of cards, and it seems like they're going to hold up a counter magic for one more turn. As I continue to draw some lands and continue to draw more spells, I find another Kark-Clan Shaman, which I don't really want to play out now, but I find the Reckoner's Bargain should be helpful here in a little bit, but I don't exactly want to use it on the creatures if I don't have to. There you go. I want to use it with the Ichor Wellspring. I continue to churn through my deck, finding way too many lands against the control matchup, and it's not really looking that well when you think about it that way. They continue to have all this removal, they play out a bunch of their threats, and I'm looking at this board like it is the end of days. I need to find my last Kark-Clan Shaman, or at least a Blood Fountain, to get things going, and if I do, well, it's going to be game over for my opponent. So decide to continue to draw through. I find more lands. My Frogmite is officially useless, so I do need to get something going with these Galvanic Blasts. Now, they're going to continue to lose some life with the Snuff Out, and that's perfectly fine. They're going to hold up counter magic, but the Unexpected Fangs is essentially what's going to do it here. That permanent lifelink is not something I was expecting. I had the double Gal Blast. I was hoping to untap with Makeshift Munitions and just end the game off there, but with Deadly Dispute, I'm hoping to look for something, but unfortunately I don't find it. I find a blocker, I have the Makeshift Munitions, but I just don't have enough to get there, so we're just going to go to game 2. Going into game 2, I have a plan in mind. I know what I need to do, and we might be able to get pretty aggressive with this hand. Now, it doesn't really draw that well, but the Deadly Disputes spell good things for the future. Now, get out the Kark-Clan Shaman early, see if they can maybe get some removal out onto it. It makes them tap their mana, so I'm going to get into an aggressive mood here, keep attacking, hold up the Gal Blast and the Deadly Dispute, and I'm able to play a Frogmite while doing so. That's pretty good. If they have the removal spell, I can always sack it. Now, drawing Thoughtcast is pretty good. I'm going to go in for an attack and then just continue to do what I do best, and that's drawing cards. I have a Gingerbrute, I have an Ichor Wellspring. I don't want to play out the Gingerbrute because I don't get a combat step with it, and they have like a wide board wipe, -2, -2, -1, -1, whatever it might be. So they're going to continue to draw, fill up their graveyard, and I'm going to continue to play slow. They don't want to play a lot of things into my Kark-Clan Shaman if they don't have it, and the Annul is something that I have to now be aware of. Not something I thought they would use on their Gingerbrute, but hey, they don't want to get aggressed against. Now, they have the Blue Elemental Blast against the Kark-Clan Shaman. They don't want the value with the Ichor Wellspring, but I will play Nihil Spellbomb, which and gets annulled. So again, a lot of their resources are being used up early, which is great. It seems like they can't find a threat because of how aggressively they're drawing, which is fantastic. They finally find the Gurmag Angler here, but again, using so many spells just to get there is definitely in my favor, especially now that they only have 2 cards. This is going to be great. I do see the Rotten Reunion in their graveyard, and that's going to be something key for me to remember, especially when it comes to recurring creatures. But again, I'm doing what I do best from last round, which is drawing cards. I'm going to be able to keep myself up in terms of interaction, and at this point I have 3 mana with the treasure token to have Gal Blast and Deadly Dispute up. So I'm going to create a blocking situation, and then they're going to Unexpected Fangs, but I'm also going to Galvanic Blast that creature with them activating a counter spell against it. I'll then Reckoner's Bargain and just really get things going. They have a pretty good combat step here, but I've gained a ton of life. They haven't done that much damage. They're going to Nihil Spellbomb me, which is pretty smart. That's a lot of my creatures gone considering how many cards I've drawn, and I'll be able to then continue to draw. It's a pretty threatening board. 11 damage on the board is nothing to scoff at, but the Chainer's Edict is going to start doing some work. Now I have some chump blocks, which is great. I do want to keep my life total up, and especially as they're tapped out, all the things I'm doing here, holding up the Metallic Rebuke, I have the cards to tap for it, which is pretty sweet. Now they have a Chainer's Edict. There's not much I'm doing for that, but I might as well make them pay the 3 mana for that. If you have 0 cards in hand, pay for it or don't do it at all. And they decided not to let it resolve. That's perfectly fine. They get their 6 damage in. I'm then going to Blood Fountain, keep that thing active, get my blood token, keep drawing through because I need to find something. I do have, well, other options, other edict effects, but now with that unfortunate zombie token being created, it was removed from my graveyard. Now I have the Metallic Rebuke, I have the Galvanic Blast, so I am able to create a level of even blocks. It is uneven for me considering the amount of spells I'm using, but as their threats disappear, we are up on resources and we go to game 3. Going into game 3, they are kind of on the back foot, I would say. Forcing 1 is interesting, although I am on the draw. That does mean I have more resources against the control player, so I'm not necessarily going to complain with a slower draw. Get the Nihil Spellbomb out early, just so their spells are useless, but hey, drawing out a counter spell, 2 mana for 1 is always great. Now I'm hoping to draw more lands, which I do, but they're tap lands. So we get out the Gingerbrute, we play the Thoughtcast. The Thoughtcast gets a little bit of response, seeing that they need to hurry up a little bit. I'm going to do 1 damage and pass the turn. They're going to continue to fill their yard. Thankfully enough, they're getting rid of their own Gurmag Anglers, their own creatures, and this is where a little bit of luck goes a long way. They're losing a lot of their ability to threaten me here, and at this point I kind of want to slow them down. There are 4 cards and they're drawing a lot of things, which tells me they don't have what it takes to win the game right now. So I'm going to use up my counter spells, I'm going to play my lands. I unfortunately do not attack with my Gingerbrute here, which was a bit of a misclick, but hey, like I said, a little bit of patience goes a long way. Maybe it was a little bit of a feint. So right now we swing in with the Gingerbrute, we keep on going, and really what I want to do is hold up that double Metallic Rebuke. And at this point, I know that I'm really in the driver's seat. They are using up a lot of spells to draw cards. We have the Ichor Wellspring, we have the Kark-Clan Shaman, we have the Metallic Rebuke, and a lot of things are working out for us. Now, I have drawn the Myr Enforcer. I'm going to play it out now with my Gingerbrute because now I can actually use those to tap for the improvise of the double Metallic Rebuke. That's great. I have all my draw spells as well, and if they're going to use all these resources just to find a threat, that's fantastic. That's more lands that they are tapping. I lose my Gingerbrute, which is perfectly fine, but hey, there's a lot of things that I can get done even without it on the battlefield, especially now with the Deadly Dispute. I have a little bit of use for my creatures as they die. Now the zombie token is there, but it's not exactly going to block the 4/4, and then back on their turn they're going to tap a lot of mana for a flashback Chainer's Edict, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to Metallic Rebuke you, especially with 2 mana left. I keep my threats. They're a little scared, especially with no 5/5s on the battlefield. At this point, I'm going to play my Ichor Wellspring. They're going to go for an Adult, and I'm going to keep my Metallic Rebuke here. I'm going to keep it close to my chest. There's always an opportunity for them to spew out a bunch of spells. Now, maybe it was worth using there, honestly, just keeping my draw spells, but I figured, hey, they're going to be need to doing stuff like that with the Chainer's Edict to get anything done, so I might as well hold that Metallic Rebuke for that, well, coming back Edict. Now at this point, I'm going to play the Kark-Clan Shaman. They're going to counterspell. I'm going to cast the Metallic Rebuke. I'm going to clear their board. And at this point, we are getting aggressive. We're going to put them down to 1 by sacrificing some lands and some permanents. And they end the game. They see the writing on the wall. They likely think we have it, which, you know, we're close with the Deadly Dispute. But hey, we get there in game 3 against Dimir Control.